Nothing like finding your wife's pregnancy test in the trash to make you question your math skills. I stared at the pink plus sign, doing calculations in my head that would make my old geometry teacher proud. 39 years old, and suddenly I'm counting backwards like some desperate teenager. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Caleb, did you move my phone charger again? Lauren's voice carried that edge it always got when she was hiding something. The same tone she used when explaining why she needed $300 for work lunches or why her yoga class ran until midnight. I wrapped the test in tissue and shoved it back under the coffee grounds. It's where you left it, babe. Lauren Morris, née Patterson, never let anyone forget the Patterson part. Swept into the kitchen like she owned the place, which technically she did, half of it anyway. Her blonde hair was pulled back in that messy bun that took her 40 minutes to perfect, and she wore those expensive workout clothes that had never seen actual sweat. I'm going to be late for my doctor's appointment. She grabbed her purse, avoiding eye contact. Don't wait up tonight. Girls' night with Vanessa and the crew. Another one? That's the third this week. It's called having friends, Caleb. You should try it sometime. The door slammed before I could respond, leaving me alone with my coffee and a growing suspicion that my wife's math was as creative as her excuses. I pulled out my phone and opened our shared calendar. Lauren's appointment wasn't listed, but then again, neither were most of her activities lately. Dr. Williams, her gynecologist, had been seeing a lot of Lauren recently. Monthly visits that she claimed were just routine checkups, but never seemed to involve me. My phone buzzed. Text from my buddy Jake at the construction site. Beer tonight? Sarah's making her famous chili. I typed back, can't. Lauren's got plans, so I'm flying solo. Again? Dude, when's the last time you two did anything together? Good question. When was the last time? Our anniversary dinner last month had been awkward, filled with long silences and Lauren checking her phone every 5 minutes. Before that, Christmas? And that had been at her parents' house, where I was treated like hired help who happened to share their daughter's last name. I walked through our house, our perfectly staged, magazine-worthy house that felt about as warm as a hotel lobby. Lauren had decorated it in shades of beige and white, with throw pillows that cost more than most people's car payments. Everything had its place, and my place was clearly becoming smaller by the day. The home office we shared told the story. Lauren's side was immaculate. Color-coded files, expensive pens arranged just so, and a photo of her college sorority sisters front and center. My side looked like a tornado had hit it, with blueprint tubes, coffee-stained notebooks, and a picture of us from our honeymoon tucked behind my monitor. I sat down and opened my laptop. Lauren's computer was password-protected now, something new from the last few months. She claimed it was for work security, but Lauren worked in marketing for a mid-level real estate firm. What secrets could she possibly have? Her phone, though, that was a different story. Lauren was religious about backing up her photos to our shared cloud storage. She probably forgot I had access to it, or maybe she thought I was too stupid to look. I wasn't. The photos loaded slowly, and at first, everything looked normal. Selfies with her girlfriends, pictures of overpriced salads, the usual social media nonsense. Then I scrolled further back, to about 3 months ago. That's when I found them. Photos of Lauren that I definitely hadn't taken. Lauren in lingerie I'd never seen. Lauren in what looked like a hotel room that wasn't ours. And in some of the photos, a man's hand visible at the edge of the frame. A hand wearing a watch I recognized. Tyler Grant, that smug bastard from Lauren's office. My chest tightened as I kept scrolling. More photos, more evidence of my wife's double life. Screenshots of text messages between them talking about meeting times and places, references to their future together, and how they needed to handle the Caleb situation. The Caleb situation. That's what I'd become in my own marriage. I printed everything. Every photo, every message, every piece of evidence that my wife was screwing her coworker and planning God knows what. The printer hummed away, producing page after page of my humiliation. By the time Lauren came home that night, I had a folder thick with proof and a plan forming in my head. "How was girls' night?" I asked from the kitchen table, the folder sitting closed in front of me. "Fine. Vanessa's going through a rough patch with David. We mostly just listened to her vent." Lauren kicked off her heels and padded to the refrigerator. "How was your evening?" "Educational." Something in my tone made her pause. She turned around, and for the first time in months, she really looked at me. "What's that supposed to mean?" I opened the folder and spread the photos across the table like a deck of cards. Lauren's face went white. "We need to talk." Lauren stared at the photos for a full 30 seconds before attempting damage control. I had to give her credit. She went straight for the nuclear option. "You went through my private photos? What kind of sick person are you?" She grabbed for the papers, but I was faster. "The kind who pays for the phone plan, apparently. These are from our shared cloud storage, Lauren. The one you set up because you wanted us to be more connected. Those are old, from before we were married." I held up a screenshot with a timestamp from 2 weeks ago. "Try again." Lauren's face crumpled, and for a moment, I thought she might actually tell the truth. Instead, she doubled down. "Fine. Yes, I've been seeing Tyler. But can you blame me? When's the last time you paid attention to me, Caleb? When's the last time you made me feel wanted?" "I don't know. When's the last time you were home long enough for a conversation?" This is exactly what I'm talking about. She was warming up now, hitting her stride. "You're so busy feeling sorry for yourself that you can't see how miserable I am. Tyler makes me feel alive again." "Tyler makes you feel alive. Got it." I shuffled through the papers until I found what I was looking for. "And this conversation about handling the Caleb situation? What exactly did you two have in mind?" Lauren's eyes darted to the paper, then back to my face. "It's not what you think." "Then explain it to me. Use small words, since I'm apparently too stupid to understand." "We were talking about how to tell you, about us, about the baby." The baby. There it was. "Congratulations, when's Tyler's kid due?" "It's not, I don't know if—" She stopped, realizing she'd already said too much. I leaned back in my chair, studying my wife like she was a blueprint I needed to decode. "You don't know if it's his? That's interesting. See, I did some math today, Lauren. Dangerous thing for a simple architect to do, I know. But I counted back from when you would have gotten pregnant, and it's right around the time you started your girls' nights with Tyler. You can't prove anything. Actually, I can. It's called a paternity test. Amazing what science can do these days." Lauren's phone buzzed on the counter. She glanced at it, and I saw Tyler's name on the screen. "Go ahead," I said. "Answer it. Tell Tyler that his baby daddy secret is out." She didn't move. "No? Then let me." I stood up and walked to her phone. "Hey Tyler, it's Caleb. Lauren's a little busy right now, looking at some photos we found. Want to come over and explain them?" I could hear Tyler's voice through the speaker, panicked and high-pitched. Lauren lunged for the phone, but I held it away from her. "Actually, Tyler, let's meet tomorrow. You, me, and Lauren. We'll have a nice chat about your future plans. How's the parking lot behind your office? Say, noon?" I hung up before he could respond. Lauren was shaking now, whether from anger or fear, I couldn't tell. "You can't do this, Caleb. You can't just ruin everything." "Ruin everything?" I laughed, and it sounded bitter even to me. "Sweetheart, you ruined everything the first time you spread your legs for Tyler Grant. I'm just deciding what to do with the pieces. I want a divorce." I bet you do. Clean break, right? Take half of everything and ride off into the sunset with Tyler and your little bundle of joy. It's not like that. Then what is it like? Explain it to me, Lauren. Help me understand how screwing your coworker behind my back is actually my fault. She couldn't. She stood there in our perfect kitchen, in our perfect house, wearing clothes I'd paid for, and she couldn't explain how any of this was justified. I'll be staying at Vanessa's tonight, she finally said. Good idea. Give her my regards. Oh, and Lauren? Don't even think about touching our bank accounts. I've already spoken to our lawyer. That was a lie. I hadn't called anyone yet, but the look on her face told me it was effective. After she left, I sat alone in the kitchen, surrounded by the evidence of my failed marriage. The house felt different now, like a stage set after the play was over. All the props were still in place, but the illusion was broken. I poured myself 3 fingers of bourbon and started planning. Tyler Grant was about to learn that some situations handle themselves. The next morning, I called in sick to work for the first time in 2 years. My boss, Frank, didn't ask questions. Probably figured I had the flu or food poisoning. If only it were that simple. Instead of reviewing blueprints for the new shopping center, I was reviewing my life, trying to figure out where it all went wrong. The answer was everywhere and nowhere. A collapse caused by 1,000 small blows, each one easy to dismiss until everything finally fell apart. I drove to my lawyer's office at 9 sharp. Patricia Hendricks had handled our house purchase 3 years ago, and I'd kept her card in my wallet ever since. She was in her 60s, sharp as a razor, and had the kind of reputation that made opposing counsel nervous. Caleb Morris, she said, shaking my hand with a grip that could crack walnuts. I was wondering when I'd see you again, though I hoped it would be for something happier. Divorce, I said, settling into the chair across from her desk. Adultery, possible pregnancy that isn't mine. Patricia raised an eyebrow. Well, you don't waste time, do you? Tell me everything. I laid out the whole story, showing her the photos and messages I'd printed. She examined each piece of evidence with the methodical attention of a surgeon. This is good, she finally said. Very good. Your wife was sloppy. The photos, the messages, the timeline, it all supports a clear case of adultery. In this state, that matters for asset division. What about the baby? If it's not yours, you have no financial responsibility, but we'll need a paternity test to prove it. Are you prepared for that fight? I thought about Lauren's face the night before, the way she'd looked when I mentioned the test. She'll fight it. But yeah, I'm prepared. Patricia made notes on a legal pad. I'll start the paperwork today. In the meantime, document everything. Every conversation, every text message, every interaction with your wife or her boyfriend. And Caleb, don't do anything stupid. I know you're angry, but don't give them ammunition to use against you. Define stupid. Violence, harassment, destroying property, anything that makes you look like the bad guy. Right now, you hold all the cards. Don't throw them away for the satisfaction of punching Tyler Grant in the face. I left Patricia's office with a thick folder of forms to fill out and a court date 3 weeks away. 3 weeks to dismantle a marriage, divide a life, and figure out what came next. My phone had been buzzing all morning, missed calls from Lauren, text messages from Tyler, even a voicemail from Vanessa asking me to be reasonable. I ignored them all. Instead, I drove to Mickey's gym, a rundown boxing club on the wrong side of town, where I'd been training twice a week for the past 5 years. Mickey Torino was 72 years old, built like a fire hydrant, and had been training fighters since before I was born. You look like shit, Mickey said when I walked in. Feel worse. Wife problems? How'd you guess? Mickey pointed to my left hand, where I was still wearing my wedding ring. Married guys who show up here on a Tuesday morning usually got wife problems, or they're about to. I spent 2 hours beating the hell out of a heavy bag, working out months of frustration and anger. Mickey watched from his corner, occasionally shouting advice that applied to more than just boxing. Keep your guard up. Don't telegraph your punches, and for Christ's sake, don't drop your hands just because you're tired. By the time I finished, my knuckles were raw and my shirt was soaked with sweat. I felt better than I had in months. You want some advice? Mickey asked as I unwrapped my hands. Shoot. Whatever she did, don't let it make you stupid. Smart guys win fights. Stupid guys get their asses kicked and end up in jail. Patricia said the same thing. Patricia's your lawyer? Good. She's tougher than most of the fighters I've trained. Listen to her. I drove home to find Lauren's car in the driveway. She was sitting at the kitchen table with Vanessa Hawkins, her college roommate and best friend. They both looked up when I walked in, like they'd been caught planning something. Caleb, Vanessa said, standing up. We need to talk. Vanessa was one of those women who'd never outgrown her sorority president phase. Everything about her was calculated, from her perfectly styled hair to her designer handbag to the way she positioned herself between me and Lauren like a human shield. Do we? I set my gym bag down and opened the refrigerator, grabbing a beer. What about? About being reasonable. About not destroying Lauren's life over a mistake. A mistake? I twisted the cap off my beer and took a long drink. Is that what we're calling it now? Lauren finally spoke up. Caleb, I know you're hurt. I know I screwed up. But we can work through this. We can go to counseling, figure out how to move forward. With Tyler's baby? We don't know whose baby it is. Then let's find out. I pulled out my phone and started dialing. I'll call Dr. Williams right now. We can schedule a paternity test for this afternoon. Stop. Lauren's voice was sharp. Just stop. I need time to think. Time to think, or time to get your story straight? Vanessa stepped forward, her face flushed with anger. You're being cruel, Caleb. This isn't like you. You're right, Vanessa. The old Caleb would have rolled over and taken it, would have accepted whatever scraps Lauren threw his way and been grateful for them. But the old Caleb was an idiot. So what? You're going to destroy your marriage over this? Throw away 5 years because of one mistake? I looked at Lauren, really looked at her. She was beautiful. I'd never denied that. But sitting there in my kitchen, surrounded by the life we'd built together, she looked like a stranger. One mistake? I asked. Which one? The first time she slept with Tyler? The 10th time? The time she told him she loved him? Or the time they decided to handle the Caleb situation? Vanessa's face went pale. What are you talking about? I walked to the counter where I'd left the folder of evidence. Want to see the text messages, the photos, the detailed discussions about their future together? Caleb, don't. Lauren's voice was barely a whisper, but I was already opening the folder, spreading the papers across the table like a dealer showing his hand. Vanessa stared at them, her mouth falling open. Oh my God, Lauren, what did you do? She made her choice, I said. Now I'm making mine. My phone rang. Tyler's name appeared on the screen. I answered it on speaker. Caleb? Look, man, we need to talk. This whole thing has gotten out of hand. Has it, Tyler? How exactly has it gotten out of hand? Lauren told me you found some messages. I think there's been a misunderstanding. Lauren was shaking her head frantically, but I ignored her. A misunderstanding, that's interesting. So you're not sleeping with my wife? Silence on the other end. Tyler, you still there, buddy? It's complicated. Actually, it's pretty simple. You're sleeping with my wife, she's pregnant, and you two were planning to screw me over. Did I miss anything? Jesus, Caleb. Can we just meet somewhere and talk about this like adults? I looked at Lauren, then at Vanessa, then at the photos scattered across my kitchen table. Sure, Tyler. Let's talk. Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. Mulligan's Bar on 5th Street. Bring your lawyer. You're going to need one. I hung up before he could respond. Vanessa was staring at me like I'd grown a second head. Caleb, what are you planning? I'm planning to have a conversation, several conversations actually, with Tyler, with Lauren's boss, with anyone who might be interested in hearing about their little affair. "You can't do that," Lauren said. "You'll ruin everything." "Everything's already ruined, sweetheart. I'm just deciding who gets to know about it." They left 20 minutes later, Vanessa practically dragging Lauren out the door. I watched from the window as they sat in Vanessa's car for another 10 minutes, talking animatedly, probably planning their next move. That was fine. I was planning mine too. I opened my laptop and started typing emails. To Tyler's boss at the real estate agency, to Lauren's supervisor, to her parents, her sister, her college friends. I didn't send them. Not yet. But I wrote them all, crafting each message carefully, laying out the facts in clear, simple language. Then I called Jake. "Hey man, you still want to grab that beer?" "Hell yes. Sarah's making chili again and I need an excuse to get out of the house." "Great. And Jake, invite the whole crew. I've got a story to tell." Mulligan's Bar was exactly the kind of place Tyler Grant would never voluntarily enter. Dark wood, cheap beer, and a clientele that worked with their hands for a living. The jukebox played classic rock, the floor was sticky with decades of spilled drinks, and the bartender, Big Jim Mulligan, had arms like tree trunks and zero patience for pretty boys in expensive suits. I arrived at 6:30 and claimed a table in the back corner where I could see the entire bar. Jake and 3 other guys from the construction crew were already there, nursing beers and shooting pool. I'd told them the basics: wife cheating, divorce pending, confrontation incoming. They'd rallied around me like brothers, which was more than I could say for most of my so-called friends. "You sure about this, Caleb?" Jake asked, sliding into the booth across from me. "This Tyler guy could bring backup." "Let him. I'm not planning to throw any punches." "Then what's the plan?" "Public humiliation. Tyler's got a reputation to protect, clients who trust him, a boss who values discretion. I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of man he is." At exactly 7 o'clock, Tyler walked through the door. He looked like he'd stepped out of a men's fashion magazine. Perfectly styled hair, designer shirt, shoes that probably cost more than most people made in a week. He scanned the bar nervously, clearly out of his element. I raised my hand and waved him over. "Tyler! Over here, buddy!" Every head in the bar turned to look at him. Tyler's face flushed red as he made his way through the crowd, trying to ignore the stares and whispered comments. Caleb. He slid into the booth, his eyes darting around the room. "This isn't exactly what I had in mind when I said we should talk." "Really? I thought it was perfect. Neutral territory, friendly atmosphere, good, honest working people, the kind of folks who appreciate family values." Tyler's jaw tightened. "Look, I know you're angry." "Angry?" I laughed loud enough for the neighboring tables to hear. "Tyler, I'm not angry. I'm grateful. You've done me a huge favor." "What are you talking about?" I pulled out my phone and opened the folder of screenshots I'd saved. "You've shown me exactly who my wife really is, and more importantly, you've shown everyone else too." Tyler's eyes widened as he recognized the photos on my screen. "You can't show those to people. That's private." "Private? These came from my wife's phone, Tyler. My phone plan, my cloud storage, my house. Nothing about this is private." Big Jim appeared at our table with 2 beers. "Everything okay over here, Caleb?" "Perfect, Jim. Just having a heart-to-heart with my wife's boyfriend. Tyler, this is Big Jim. He's been married to the same woman for 32 years. Jim, Tyler here has been sleeping with Lauren for the past 3 months." Jim's expression darkened. He was old-school Irish Catholic, the kind of man who believed marriage vows were sacred. "That's so?" Tyler tried to shrink into the booth. "This is between me and Caleb." "Actually," I said, "it's between you, me, Lauren, your boss, your clients, and anyone else who might be interested in your character. Speaking of which," I pulled out a manila envelope and slid it across the table. "Paternity test results. Got them rushed through a private lab. Turns out the baby isn't yours after all." Tyler stared at the envelope like it might bite him. "What?" Open it. Go ahead. I think you'll find it interesting. With shaking hands, Tyler opened the envelope and pulled out the lab report. His face went white as he read, This says the baby isn't yours or mine. That's right, which means Lauren was sleeping with at least 3 men, you, me, and someone else. Quite the little operation she had going. The bar had gone quiet around us. Everyone was watching now, pretending to mind their own business while straining to hear every word. Tyler looked like he might throw up. I don't understand. She said she loved me. She said we were going to be together. She said a lot of things, Tyler. Most of them lies. But here's what I want to know. Whose idea was it to handle the Caleb situation? What? I showed him the screenshot of their text conversation. This message, where you two discuss getting me out of the picture. Was that your idea or hers? Tyler's hands were shaking as he stared at the phone. We never... That's not what we meant. Then what did you mean? We were talking about telling you about us, about finding a way to break it to you gently. By planning to take half my assets and leave me with nothing? That wasn't... Lauren said you'd be fine. She said you'd understand eventually. I leaned back in the booth, studying Tyler's face. He was younger than me, probably made more money, definitely spent more time at the gym, but sitting there in Mulligan's bar, surrounded by real men who'd earned their calluses and their scars, he looked like exactly what he was, a spoiled child playing at being an adult. Tell me about Vanessa, I said. Tyler's head snapped up. What about her? She's been awfully involved in Lauren's decisions lately, almost like she's been coaching her. Vanessa's just Lauren's friend. She's been supportive. Supportive of what, exactly? Tyler didn't answer, but his expression told me everything I needed to know. My phone buzzed with a text message. I glanced at it and smiled. Well, Tyler, this has been educational, but I'm afraid our time is up. What do you mean? I stood up and raised my voice so the entire bar could hear me. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to meet Tyler Grant. He works at Prestige Realty downtown, specializes in luxury homes for discerning clients. He's also been sleeping with my wife for the past 3 months, got her pregnant, well, thought he did, and was planning to help her take me for everything I'm worth in the divorce. The bar erupted in boos and catcalls. Someone threw a peanut that bounced off Tyler's forehead. Big Jim cracked his knuckles meaningfully. But here's the kicker, I continued. The baby isn't his, isn't mine either, which means my loving wife was running a bigger operation than either of us realized. Tyler tried to stand up, but Jake and his crew had moved to block the exits, not threatening, just present. Sit down, Tyler, we're not done yet. My phone buzzed again. Another text message. Actually, we are done. Your boss just fired you. Apparently, someone sent him some very interesting photos and a detailed explanation of your professional ethics, or lack thereof. Tyler's face went from white to green. You can't do this. I'll sue you for harassment, for defamation. With what money? You just lost your job, and I've got a folder full of evidence that everything I've said is true. Good luck finding a lawyer who'll take that case. I dropped a 20 on the table and headed for the door. The entire bar was watching, some of them filming with their phones. By tomorrow, the story would be all over town. Oh, and Tyler? I called over my shoulder. You might want to get tested. If Lauren was sleeping with 3 guys, who knows how many others there were. I walked out of Mulligan's bar, feeling lighter than I had in months. Behind me, I could hear Tyler trying to explain himself to a room full of hostile strangers. It wasn't going well. Phase 1 was complete. Time for Phase 2. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. Lauren, Tyler, Vanessa, even Lauren's mother, everyone wanted to talk, to explain, to make me see reason. I deleted them all without reading most of them. Instead, I made coffee and sat down to review my plan for the day. Patricia had called the night before to tell me that Lauren's lawyer had already reached out about a settlement. They wanted to negotiate. which meant they were scared. Good. They should be. At 9 a.m. sharp, I walked into the offices of Prestige Realty. The receptionist, a young woman with too much makeup and not enough experience, looked up nervously. "I'm here to see Mr. Davidson," I said, referring to the company's owner and Tyler's former boss. "Do you have an appointment?" "No, but I think he'll want to see me. Tell him I'm Caleb Morris, and I have information about Tyler Grant that he'll find very interesting." 5 minutes later, I was sitting across from Robert Davidson in his corner office. Davidson was in his 50s, well-dressed but not flashy, with the kind of steady demeanor that came from 20 years of dealing with difficult clients and temperamental agents. "Mr. Morris," he said, settling behind his desk, "I have to say, your timing is interesting. I just terminated Mr. Grant's employment this morning." "Because of the photos I sent?" "Among other things. Tyler was one of our top performers, but he was also a liability. The photos you provided simply confirmed what I'd already suspected about his judgment." I pulled out another folder. I'd been making a lot of folders lately. "Then you'll be interested in this. Tyler wasn't just sleeping with my wife. He was using company resources to do it. Hotel rooms booked on the company account, client dinners that were actually romantic dates, even company cars for their little rendezvous." Davidson's eyebrows rose as he flipped through the documentation. "How did you obtain this information?" "Lauren kept receipts. She's very organized that way. I found them when I was gathering evidence for the divorce." "This is extensive. Tyler cost your company money and exposed you to potential liability. If any of his clients found out he was using their commissions to fund his affairs, it could damage your reputation." Davidson closed the folder and looked at me with something approaching respect. "What do you want, Mr. Morris?" "Nothing from you. I just thought you should know the kind of man you were employing. Professional courtesy, you might say." I left Davidson's office and drove across town to Lauren's workplace. Marketing Solutions, Inc. was a mid-level firm that specialized in real estate advertising, which was how Lauren had met Tyler in the first place. Their office was in a converted warehouse, all exposed brick and industrial lighting, trying too hard to look creative and cutting edge. Lauren's boss, Sandra Chen, was a sharp woman in her 40s who'd built her company from nothing. She agreed to see me immediately, probably because she'd already heard rumors about the drama surrounding her employee. "Mr. Morris," she said, gesturing to a chair in her glass-walled office, "I'm sorry to hear about your marital troubles." "Thank you. I'm here because I thought you should know that Lauren's personal problems might be affecting her work performance." Sandra's expression became carefully neutral. "In what way?" I opened my laptop and showed her screenshots of Lauren's text messages. Not the intimate photos, I wasn't that cruel, but the conversations about meeting times, the discussions of their future together, the messages sent during work hours. "These are all from the past 3 months, I explained. As you can see, Lauren was conducting an extensive personal relationship during company time, using company resources. Sandra studied the timestamps on the messages. Many of them were sent during business hours, often during times when Lauren should have been in meetings or working on client projects. "I see," Sandra said finally. "And you're showing me this because—" "Because Lauren is about to become embroiled in a very public divorce. There will be court proceedings, possibly media attention, certainly gossip. I thought you should be prepared. I appreciate your concern for the company's reputation. There's more." I showed her additional screenshots. Lauren has been sharing confidential client information with Tyler, helping him target your clients for his real estate business. She's been using her position here to feed him leads. Sandra's professional composure cracked slightly. "That's a serious accusation. It's a serious breach of ethics. Check her computer, her email records, her client contact logs. You'll find the evidence." I closed my laptop and stood up. "I'm not asking you to fire her. I'm just giving you the information you need to make an informed decision about her future with your company." By noon, I was sitting in Patricia's office, updating her on the morning's activities. You've been busy, she said, making notes in my file. I'm just getting started. Caleb, I have to ask, are you sure about this approach? You're burning a lot of bridges. They burned the bridges first. I'm just making sure everyone sees the ashes. Patricia leaned back in her chair. Lauren's lawyer called again this morning. They want to meet tomorrow to discuss terms. What kind of terms? 50-50 split of assets. No alimony, she keeps the house. I laughed. After what she's done? She's lucky if she gets her clothes. The adultery helps our case, but it's not a guarantee. Judges can be unpredictable. Then we'll have to make sure the judge has all the facts. My phone rang. Vanessa's name appeared on the screen. Speak of the devil, I said, answering the call on speaker. Caleb, we need to talk, right now. Hello to you too, Vanessa. Patricia, meet Vanessa Hawkins, Lauren's best friend and co-conspirator. I'm not... This is insane, Caleb. You're destroying people's lives over a mistake. Whose lives am I destroying exactly? Tyler lost his job. Lauren's boss is asking questions about her work performance. Her parents are getting calls from people in town asking about the divorce. Sounds like the truth is getting out. That's generally what happens when you lie to people for months. This has to stop. Actually, it doesn't. See, Vanessa, I'm just getting started. Tomorrow, I'm meeting with Lauren's divorce lawyer. Then I'm having lunch with her sister. After that, I'm stopping by the country club where her parents play golf. Busy day. There was silence on the other end of the line. Vanessa, you still there? What do you want? I want the truth. All of it. Who else was Lauren sleeping with? Whose baby is she carrying? And what exactly was your role in all of this? I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you do. You've been Lauren's best friend since college. You knew about Tyler, probably encouraged her, maybe even helped plan the whole thing. That's not... You can't prove anything. Can I? Vanessa, I've got phone records, text messages, credit card statements. I've got a paper trail that leads right back to you. So I'll ask again. What was your role in this? The line went silent. Patricia was staring at me with a mixture of admiration and concern. Caleb, what aren't you telling me? I pulled out my phone and showed her a screenshot I'd been saving for the right moment. A text message from Vanessa to Lauren sent 3 weeks ago. Don't worry about Caleb. Once the baby comes, he'll have no choice but to go along with the plan. David and I will make sure of that. David is Vanessa's husband, I explained. And I think he's the father of Lauren's baby. Patricia's eyes widened. How do you know? Because I've been watching them, following them. David Hawkins has been having lunch with Lauren twice a week for the past month, always at hotels, always during the day when Vanessa's at work. You've been following them? I've been documenting their activities. There's a difference. Patricia made more notes. This changes everything. If you can prove that Lauren was having affairs with multiple men and that one of them is her best friend's husband, it destroys her credibility completely, makes her look like exactly what she is, a manipulative liar who was playing everyone against each other. My phone buzzed with a text message from Lauren. Please call me, we can work this out. I showed the message to Patricia, then typed back, see you in court. Tomorrow would be the final confrontation. Lauren, her lawyer, Vanessa, probably Tyler, they'd all be there, trying to salvage something from the wreckage of their schemes. But I had one more card to play, one final revelation that would end this once and for all. The truth about why Vanessa had really encouraged Lauren's affairs, and what she'd hoped to gain from destroying my marriage. The conference room at Patricia's law firm felt like a courtroom, complete with opposing sides and barely contained hostility. Lauren sat between her lawyer and Vanessa, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. Dark circles under her eyes, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, wearing a simple dress instead of her usual designer outfits. The stress was showing. Tyler wasn't there, probably still trying to figure out how to pay rent without a job. But David Hawkins was, sitting next to his wife with the uncomfortable expression of a man who knew his secrets were about to be exposed. "Let's get started," said Lauren's lawyer, a thin man named Peterson, who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. "My client is prepared to offer a reasonable settlement that avoids the need for a lengthy court battle." Patricia didn't even look up from her notes. Define reasonable. 50-50 split of all marital assets. Lauren keeps the house. No alimony requested from either party. "Counteroffer," Patricia said. "Lauren gets her personal belongings and her car. Caleb keeps everything else." Peterson's eyebrows shot up. "That's hardly equitable." "Neither is adultery with multiple partners while planning to defraud my client." Lauren finally spoke up. "Caleb, please, can we just talk about this like adults?" I looked at her across the conference table, this woman I'd been married to for 5 years, and felt nothing but pity. "Adults don't cheat on their spouses, Lauren. Adults don't lie and manipulate and scheme behind their partner's back." "I made mistakes. You made choices. There's a difference." Vanessa leaned forward. "Caleb, I know you're hurt, but you're being vindictive. This isn't like you." "You're right, Vanessa. The old me would have rolled over and taken it, would have accepted whatever scraps you threw my way. But I'm not that person anymore." I opened my briefcase and pulled out a thick folder. "Speaking of which, let's talk about your role in all this." David Hawkins went pale. "What role?" "The role where you've been sleeping with Lauren for the past 6 months while your wife encouraged her to cheat on me." The room went silent. "That's ridiculous," Vanessa said, but her voice lacked conviction. I opened the folder and spread photos across the conference table. David and Lauren entering a hotel. David and Lauren having lunch at restaurants across town. David and Lauren kissing in the parking lot of a medical building. "Paternity test came back yesterday," I said, sliding a lab report across the table. "Congratulations, David. You're going to be a father." David stared at the paper like it might spontaneously combust. Vanessa grabbed it from his hands, her face cycling through disbelief, anger, and betrayal in rapid succession. "This is impossible," she whispered. "Actually, it makes perfect sense," I continued. "You've hated me since college, haven't you, Vanessa? Since that night at the party when I turned you down." Vanessa's head snapped up. "What?" "Spring formal, senior year. You'd just broken up with that football player. What was his name? Brad? You were drunk, upset, and you made a pass at me. I said no because you were Lauren's roommate and my girlfriend's best friend. You never forgave me for that rejection." Lauren was staring at her best friend with growing horror. "Vanessa? Is that true?" That's not what this is about." "Isn't it?" I pulled out more documents. Bank records showing payments from David's account to Lauren's, hotel receipts, credit card statements. You've been funding this whole operation, haven't you, Vanessa? Paying for Lauren's hotels, her dinners with Tyler, even her lawyer. Peterson was frantically taking notes, probably trying to figure out how to distance himself from this mess. "The plan was brilliant," I continued. "Encourage Lauren to have a public affair with Tyler, make me look like the wronged husband, then swoop in with David as the real father of her baby. I'd be so devastated by the betrayal that I'd agree to any settlement just to get out of the marriage. Meanwhile, you'd comfort your heartbroken friend, help her through the divorce, and eventually your husband would leave you for her. You'd get to play the victim while orchestrating the whole thing." Vanessa was shaking her head, but tears were streaming down her face. "The only problem," I said, "is that you underestimated me. You thought I'd roll over and give up. Instead, I fought back." David finally found his voice. "Vanessa, tell me this isn't true." I didn't. It wasn't supposed to happen like this." "Like what?" Lauren demanded. "What was it supposed to happen like?" Vanessa looked around the room, trapped and desperate. "You were miserable, both of you. Your marriage was a joke. Caleb was holding you back, and you deserved better. So you decided to destroy my marriage for my own good? I decided to give you options. David loves you, he always has. He could give you the life you wanted, the life you deserved. David was staring at his wife like he'd never seen her before. You manipulated me. You manipulated all of us. I was trying to help. By destroying 4 people's lives? Patricia had been taking notes throughout this exchange, her expression growing more satisfied by the minute. Mr. Peterson, I think we need to discuss a new settlement offer. Peterson looked like he wanted to crawl under the table. Perhaps we should take a recess? No recess, I said. Let's finish this now. I pulled out one final document. Vanessa, you might be interested in this. It's a copy of the email I sent to your boss this morning, detailing how you've been using company funds to finance this scheme. Turns out those client dinners you've been expensing were actually payments to Lauren. Vanessa's face went white. You can't prove that. Company credit card records, restaurant receipts, witness statements from waitstaff who remember serving you and Lauren. Your boss was very interested in the documentation. You bastard. I'm the bastard? I'm not the one who spent 6 months orchestrating the destruction of 2 marriages. Lauren was crying now, quiet sobs that shook her whole body. I trusted you. You were my best friend. I was trying to help you. By lying to me, by manipulating me, by getting me pregnant with your husband's baby? David stood up abruptly. I can't. I need to get out of here. Sit down, David, I said. We're not done yet. Actually, we are. Patricia closed her folder with a snap. Mr. Peterson, here's our final offer. Lauren gets her personal belongings, her car, and nothing else. She pays her own legal fees, her own medical expenses, and she signs a non-disclosure agreement preventing her from discussing this case publicly. That's completely unreasonable. It's generous considering we could pursue criminal charges for fraud and conspiracy. Peterson looked at Lauren, who was still crying. I need to consult with my client. You have 5 minutes, Patricia said. While they huddled in the corner, I looked around the room at the wreckage of what had once been my social circle. Vanessa was texting frantically, probably trying to do damage control with her job. David was staring out the window, his marriage and his future in ruins. Lauren was falling apart, the weight of her choices finally crushing her. Time's up, Patricia announced. Peterson returned to the table. My client accepts your terms. Excellent. Patricia slid a settlement agreement across the table. Sign here, here, and here. Lauren's hand was shaking as she signed the papers that ended our marriage. When she finished, she looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes. I'm sorry, Caleb. I really am. I know you are, Lauren. You're sorry you got caught. She flinched like I'd slapped her. For what it's worth, I continued, I hope you figure out how to be a better person. For your kid's sake, if nothing else. I stood up and walked to the door, then paused and looked back at the room full of people who'd tried to destroy my life. Oh, and one more thing. The story's going to be in tomorrow's paper. Local businessman's wife caught an affair with multiple men. Best friend orchestrates scheme to defraud husband. The reporter was very interested in the details. Vanessa's phone clattered to the floor. You can't do that. Actually, I can. It's all public record now. Divorce filings, court documents, settlement agreements. The press has a right to report on it. I opened the door and stepped into the hallway, Patricia right behind me. That was brutal, she said. That was justice. What now? I thought about it for a moment. Now I start over. New house, new life, new everything. Maybe I'll travel, see some places I've always wanted to visit. Maybe I'll write a book about this whole experience. What would you call it? I smiled for the first time in months. The Reckoning.